Today we have two Proptech companies with us on Let's Talk Business 2.0. One is Smarter Dharma and one is ApnaComplex.
We realize that at every level, decision making is a challenge.
And this Proptech is what automates the lives of the residents in these societies.
Welcome Shajai and Sriram today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So before we begin about the Proptech sector, I want to know from each one of you what your company actually does, because our viewers would like to know in a very layman language what your company does and what are the technology solutions that you're providing. So starting with you, Sriram.
Sure. Yeah. The real estate space today is really behind the curve in adopting sustainability. What Smarter Dharma does is we're trying to simplify adoption of sustainability. How? We realize that at every level, decision making is a challenge. And decision making is challenged because of lack of awareness around or access to solutions, also understanding what to do. And so how are we addressing it? We said that, so the country has goals, right? COP21, COP26, we set goals that by 2040 we'll be 40% carbon neutral. COP21 also we have set some goals. Now that goal has to percolate down all the way to one infrastructure being built. So if I'm building a building saying I have 10 acres land and I'm going to have 1,000 apartments built there, for instance, in residential space, we today are able to set sustainability goals. We're going to say, you can decarbonize so much, you can be so much energy efficient, you can be 70% self-sufficient with water. So we set those goals, then we drive design decisions from concept to design stage automatically based on this, identify what solutions, size them, and identify who's the best solution provider to implement it with. That aspect as a holistic sustainability resource platform is what's a gap in this space, enabling the builder primarily, but rest of the stakeholders. That's what we do.
Thanks, that was very interesting. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Kritika, for inviting me over. If you look at the community space, what we call in traditional forms, society or RWAs, which are there across the country, and these are across multiple cities. ApnaComplex automates the lives of the residents in these societies and communities. And let me tell you how it's done. Every society is like a mini city. Every developer project, once it is handed over, is like a community, is like a mini city. This mini city has tons of requirements, whether it's security, gate management, complaint management, bill payments of maintenance fees. It has automating your entire escalation of complaints and household snagging, whether it is your communication, whether it's your information outreach, whether it's rentals, which is required in that society, whether it's the small services and household services which are required. All of these are actually put onto one tech platform. And this Proptech is what automates the lives of the residents in these societies. So ApnaComplex is the one-stop full-service shop for automating the residents' daily requirements, right? So if you have maids coming to the societies, or if you have your security, wanting to get permission, all you need to do is approve the notification which comes to ApnaComplex. If you have a maintenance bill which needs to be paid, and every quarter the maintenance bill gets raised on the app, you can use our payment gateways to make that payment, and it instantly reconciles with the society's accounting books. That's one aspect. If your lift isn't working, you can easily raise a level 1, level 2, level 3 escalation complaint through the ApnaComplex app, and then there is no way about it. Plus the fact is, you don't actually have to follow up 3 times to say, "Bhaiya, wo aaya ki nahi?" Right? It automatically goes down to the executive, his supervisor, and the supervisor after that. Right? From the management committee's perspective, from the developer's perspective, all of those reports of financial reconciliation and accounting are reconciled and handed over in audit-ready format. So that's what it does. From a prepaid metering standpoint, ApnaComplex, when you talk about electricity meters, ApnaComplex can actually help you pay for your electricity bills in advance so that the electricity can be switched on by the community to your apartment, right? It disrupts the entire traditional notice board.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see any more traditional notice boards. How many people actually stand outside notice board? Because you have the notice on your app, right? That's what ApnaComplex does. For landlords and tenants, ApnaComplex is one of the best use cases because it helps landlords and tenants meet on one single platform. It actually helps in doing the matchmaking. And then our internal automated systems help transact the deal, facilitate the deal, do the KYC, ensure that the verification of the tenant happens, helps in the move in and move out, and of course all the other ancillary services for a rental. Plus the fact is you can book cabs on our platform, you can actually get a painting service on your platform, and just to take a point of, you can actually also contact one of the vendors who do STP and rainwater harvesting, for your society.
So one-stop.
So it's a one-stop solution for society management. And like I go back to the earlier thought, every society, every community is like a mini city, and the management committee members are the volunteer members who run the governance in that city. So ApnaComplex is that one tool which helps the management committees to effectively relegate their duties and simplify their lives.
So after COVID, we have seen a rise in terms of adoption of technology. So when it comes to Proptech sector, do you guys think builders, real estate developers have been opening up when it comes to Proptech solutions?
Yeah, so I think in the last 2 years, I would say, before that, I would always meet developers and they themselves would joke that we are a decade behind on technology. I think real estate industry definitely behind. But last 2-3 years, something is clear. And I don't think it is related to COVID. Timing is a coincidence there, I suppose. It's just it's a transition happening where newer builders and younger builders are coming in. Next gen of some of the established names are coming in. They realize value of technology. They see that the custom data is speaking. There's a maturity in technology also where data is king, right?
Yeah.
So these two are driving a lot of technology adoption at every level. It's ApnaComplex giving, empowering the tenant and resident, or Smart Dharma is empowering the builder and the stakeholders at the design stage. There are folks who are helping in material assessment. There are different things, but everything data and technology. And the last 2 years, Proptech is the name in the game.
I would agree with you. But I have an additional point to add to that. One, which is saying that I think it's more of a push from the actual end user side. It is a push because the actual end user today, cut to 2018 and cut to 2022, I mean, 3.5 years have gone by. In 3.5 years, we have seen the explosion of technology on all aspects of life. And automating convenience and speed to market. This is what has been the overall, I can say, the three elements which have actually pushed and propelled technology usage.
Right.
Now consumers, and I will speak from an ApnaComplex perspective, are asking for technology.
Yeah.
They are pushing the real estate developers to think ahead of the curve. For example, we never heard of the fact that a site visit could be done virtually. Yeah. But now 40 to 50% of sales happen virtually.
Yeah.
That's one, right? But that's on the sales side. But having said that, given the fact that there has been so much of virtual aspects, and that's a convenience if you look at it, and a faster go-to-market for the developer to sell, the consumers who are actually moving, our residents who are moving into societies now do not want to go in and deposit checks at the maintenance office.
Yeah.
I used to do that about 5 years, 10 years ago. They don't want to do that anymore. They all want they want convenience at their fingertips, the bill to be loaded onto their smartphones, API gateways with payment aggregators, and of course reconciled receipts back to them. Rent payment. Whoever heard that, right? I mean, now rent payments don't happen through cash or check anymore. It happens directly through net banking and credit cards, right? And not only that, I mean, if you look at it, like what I said in my earlier piece about disrupting the notice board, which is there. Nobody goes and looks at a notice board because they demand the fact that you have to. I now get residents writing to me saying that I'm not receiving notices from the society because possibly my mail has been spammed or something like that, right? So we have to work backwards and ensure that the notices reach them. That's the level of technology. So there's a huge push from the consumer end for Proptech and technology. And I would say it wouldn't restrict it to Proptech only. I would restrict it to every phase of consumerism which is there. So it's all about the push, the advantage which is coming from using Proptech and from using technology, which is convenience, speed to market, and of course the eventual automation of that product.
No, sorry, I was just going to say that, and as a natural consequence, I think VC firms, PE firms, they're pumping in a lot of money into Proptech. There's enough statistics to say that Proptech has so much more money invested and it's constantly going up. Is it fast enough? People like us would say it's not fast enough.
Though I would tend to disagree that is it equivalent to what's the amount of money which is being pumped into other forms of tech?
It's not.
No, it's not.
It's not. Yeah.
True. It's good you guys brought that point because I want to ask, don't you think PropTech market in comparison to global market is in India is still in nascent stage?
Right.
Because there are still companies or still technologies which is not that mature wise in terms of the level of technology solutions in comparison to your global market players. So don't you feel in terms of technology, India, especially in PropTech, of course, other technology sectors are raising a lot of good fund, are raising a good evaluation, everything. But when we talk about PropTech and when we speak to experts, the builders or the VCs, they say they are still not there yet. So do you agree with that?
And why do you say that? Why do you think it happens?
So it happens because the technology level is not that advanced.
I don't think so. I beg to disagree on that.
Okay.
And I think it's also because of the fact that PropTech players haven't managed to show the same levels of monetization and valuation, which has been shown on the other side of the curve by fintech, edutech, and by consumer tech.
So you think that technology-wise, our PropTech sector is in that
it's the same
competitive level of global market?
I would say any founder in PropTech today has the same level of technology available, has the same pool of talent available, right? And the same levels of automation possibilities available, right? Why is it that we've not been able to justify the same levels of valuation as consumer tech or fintech or edutech?
Yeah.
Even though the market is that big, right? Possibly because, one, we've not been able to showcase, when I say the PropTech sector hasn't been able to showcase the meteoric valuation gains which have actually been seen in some of the other sectors, which in a way is also good, primarily because of the fact that every single valuation metric which has been shown on the other side also has a caveat to it, right? Also has a caveat. And I'm actually underplaying it. If you look at edutech and what's happening currently, right? I mean, but the good part is that when PE firms, and there are certain mature PE firms who actually, and venture capitalist firms who are actually looking at PropTech, and they're seeing it maturing, they're waiting. And as and when there is an opportunity to invest, they will definitely come in. So, do I see the sunshine days of PropTech investment coming in? Yes, I do. I mean, it will come because of the fact that the monetization on the PropTech side is very real. It is very tangible. It is not fueled by, GMV numbers, which actually showcase a different picture and different story.
But right, the thing why I feel it's not as fast as it is the adoption and the need levels are never, the scale is there, right? I mean, India is going to build 20 million houses by end of this decade. We have 100 smart cities, which means we're going to build infrastructure like never before, like no other country. We already stand at, from a sustainability point of view, second largest square footage of green space, built space. And we are aiming to double it before the end of the decade. In spite of that, ultimately, houses bought once. From vast majority of the population, you move into the office once. So the challenge in PropTech is the adoption is, we have volume here, but it's not the same stickiness of I'm making financial transactions in fintech or edutech or health tech where you're checking it more often, and that's the challenge. I mean, I was talking to a VC about this, right? So we are in the market right now, and this was one of the challenges. And so their thesis on what is investment in PropTech is maturing. You're right, I think sunshine days are ahead because the thesis is to mature. It's the same with sustainability also, by the way. And we are at the confluence of PropTech and sustainability is even more, people are trying to understand what it is. And I think once the thesis of these VC firms mature, you will see money flooding the market.
So we'll both be positive about it. When it rains, it'll pour.
It'll pour. So I will agree.
But do you think it's going to be at least 4 years later, or we are going to see it within this
much before? Next couple of years max, we'll see it booming. I mean, all the big names already have their own accelerators, which is one step from putting their own money. I mean, at least 6 guys have reached out just to us saying Proptech accelerator we have. All the big players.
I look at it from a different perspective. I'm saying when the realization comes that Proptech is the funnel to reach for consumer tech, edutech, and fintech to reach the consumer. Because the consumer is, and I speak from an ApnaComplex perspective, consumer stays in that same apartment and home, right? Proptech is that funnel for all of these, I would say, secondary tech players to come in. So if secondary tech players have already, seen that boom or the bust, whatever way you look at it, Proptech is going to basically benefit. And consumers are becoming far more rational in their approach. They are becoming far more, I would say, realistic, and they have genuine needs, which today a Proptech player, even on the sustainability side, I mean, it's a beautiful platform of sustainability.
Yeah.
I mean, they are fulfilling, or an ApnaComplex, which is in India, and we are across about 6.5 lakh households. I mean, we're appreciated for the kind of work that we have done. And of course, the host of customizations and requirements that keep coming to us, which means that the consumer requires us. And when there is a product which is required, investment can't be far away.
Yeah. I think the other key player, and I'm not going to talk about sustainability second, but the other key thing which will drive is consumer behavior patterns from resource consumption and other. That thing is already automated in other countries.
Yeah.
Which means when that comes out, that data is gold. And that's the other thing which will drive, like the IoT solutions which are around, which are going to start telling me how often do I forget how much energy I use, how often I open my equipment, when do I open the equipment. That itself is a data, which is going to start driving other services, other value, right? And then the valuation and monetization will come. I think it's a massive bubble which is there, and it's not going to burst, but it's bubble is the wrong word maybe, but it's a massive opportunity. We just have to find the right monetization techniques. And I'm not a fan of the current monetization technique, like you said, in the health and fin edutech, properties, physical assets, so we'll have a more tangible valuation metrics. If we do that, we are in for a big. Investors are in for a big.
So Sriram, I want to ask you the stakeholders of a user, be the developers, government officials. What are the other players or sectors who are directly engaging with you to improve their efficiency, to improve their sustainability programs? So how's it going in that line?
Yeah, it's a good question because sustainability is now a buzzword in this year, especially 2022, in various sectors. More so, built environment is beginning to understand the importance. The number of times we've got a call this quarter on ESG, can you do ESG? It was fascinating. So now we're adding ESG automation to the platform. But so the stakeholders, right, stepping back. So we kind of broadly break it into two. We call the greenfield, which is at the design stage. The builder just has identified parcel of land and we want to build whatever, right? So the builder, the architect, the consultants become key players in this, and then we have empowered them on the platform. Now the brownfield, while it's not technically accurate in terms of the industry, but what we call as brownfield is existing buildings, commercial. Right now, for example, a law firm has come and said, "Can you give us a carbon neutrality roadmap?" A law firm. We have Swiggy again talking to us. We work with Swiggy sometimes. All these kind of players start understanding that we need to do something. And the good news is this: pre-2019, 2020, I would say. I always need to answer two questions. I would need to tell people that what is the problem of climate change? What is your industry adding to it? And how is that the problem of climate change impacting your industry? That's the first question I need to explain. And then the second one would be, okay, now that you've got that, what can we do for you? How can we help you? The fascinating thing is since 19 onwards, the first part is taking place. Folks who come and knock on the door. Swiggy is a great example of somebody who came and knocked on the door saying, we know how you need, can you help us? And now builders are also saying that. We work with, you said government, right? We work with the Karnataka Tourism Ministry. Now they have come and said, actually we had a chance to be the minister at that time, and we said, sustainability and tourism should really go hand in hand. And we said there's a possibility, again, data can play a big role. While we didn't automate that at that point of time, what we did tell them is data will help us understand where is the Karnataka state in terms of hotels and restaurants, and can we benchmark this? And so Karnataka is the first state in the country today to have a benchmark to say how can we measure and assess sustainability for our hospitality sector. And then, based on the benchmark, if you're below that, how can we take you above? And if you're above, what kind of a ranking rating in the government? That benchmarking has been approved by the ministry. We created it last year. We have a policy, in the policy, tourism policy for these 5 years. There are 2 pages created for sustainability. So government has also acted. How fast is another discussion in itself, but all these players are coming. And this year, again, back to the tech part, right? This year, pretty much everybody is asking us, is there technology to help us with this? Whether it is the hospitality sector, construction sector. The other key part which is stood out, which seems to really drag other than ESG, is a vetted, dependable, one source for solutions and materials. So we are sticking our head out and we're saying that today I can tell you why you should not use granite or you should not use marble, whereas you should use certain kind of tile, and what tile, why, with an environmental impact or a life cycle assessment where we could do that. That kind of a database which can tell you what it is. So if you say I have a 2,000 square feet house and I need to make it sustainable, we can today tell you that what kind of windows, what kind of doors, what kind of paints, what flooring options, what kind of brick if you're constructing placed, right? And what design will be. That material database, dependable material will allow people to ask. These are some of the things people are asking. So there's a maturity where they're asking specific things. Earlier, pre-2019, 2020, they're like, I heard about this, I don't know what I should do. And so I'm really talking to them saying, you're a law firm, you should do this. You're a food aggregator, you should do that. Or you're a builder, you should do C, right? Now I don't have to answer. So that's a nice quantum leap. And it shows we've had one of the best quarters ever in Sparta's history, financially and impact-wise.
I think it also makes sense because we've been seeing a lot of demand from communities and societies.
Yeah.
We've been seeing a lot of demand. For example, we've been seeing societies who have been around for say like 15 years. Their rainwater harvesting systems are no longer working, and they want us to, because we are there on the automation side, they want us to provide a digital solution for rainwater harvesting.
Right.
Or they want to measure the amount of water that is used, and water is a scarce natural resource.
Yes.
Right, and because of that, they've been reaching out to us. Even for STP plants, they've been reaching out and saying, can you help us?
Right.
Connect us with the right audience, because you are our one-stop shop. So therefore, we work with several players on rainwater harvesting or STP,
right,
or even on water metering, what prepaid meters. So all of that, right? And there is a natural demand which we are seeing right now, both from new to born societies which have just been handed over from the developer side, or societies which have been around for like 10-15 years and their existing systems are no longer working, or they want to get upgraded. And this is happening from a large consumer push, because I think one, realization has stepped in. Two, and going back to the point of water, I mean, you see these water tankers jet setting across cities, right? And you don't know what's the quality of water which is there in that. So people are getting self-conscious as to, can we, one, bring down the level of these tankers, two, what's the quality of water which is in these tankers. And so therefore, there is a large requirement for platforms such as yours, in which you can connect with the hinterland of 100,000 communities which are there.
And what I'm glad you brought up the tank. So one of the things we tell them in design phase, we say that if you do these things, these 7, 8, 10, for whatever, let's say 10, right, solutions in the right way, in the right size, we are tangibly saying you would be using X number of tankers lesser than a non-sustainable builder or a community right next to us. It's the same with commercial. And the other thing to your rainwater point, why older buildings are asking, and this is, I would love your audience to ask us more, and be happy to answer, is, Bangalore city actually is not rain power shaper. It's not like a Hyderabad or other cities where you rain power. Bangalore, it rains well. And so we have a nice publicly available algorithm built by one of the water experts in Bangalore, which everybody in this space use. That has been created with the rainwater patterns a few years ago, which says that rain would fall across about a 60-day period, you have a quantum of water, and you plan your consumption based on that. Which means what? You tank sizing, piping, where the tank is residing, etc., is dependent. Design is dependent on that data. Now, what happened in the last 4 years? A very, very tangible climate change impact is that 60 days started shrinking. It's at 20, it's at 15. So, what is the consequence? An older building, which is built with a 60-day time period, the tank size is X. Now, X is not sufficient when the volume of water is double. Because if it's coming in 20 days, it's triple. That's why there's a flood. That's why this existing infrastructure doesn't work. So now you have to go double. So recently we worked with a builder, a prominent builder, where when we showed this, they were very passionate about it. They went 2.5 times the current size which was mandated to the government. So the conscious guys are realizing that because they have a name to keep, they don't want to have 5 years from now photos in social media saying this ex-builders community is flooded, right? Yeah. So they're going 2.5x. We used to struggle to sell 1.25. 2.5 is now people are saying, yeah, let's put it extra cameras. So the importance of those design interventions, the idea that this is now coming up. People are, it's staring in their face.
And also capacity, also capacity increase, like you're saying, and that's required in these older communities. And so we are actually connecting a lot of such platforms to the communities directly.
Right.
And whether it's rainwater, whether it's STP, whether
so
it's water metering.
Are you exclusive working with anyone?
No,
or are you open to?
We're open. We're actually open. So we're not exclusive to any particular vendor because we want the society and the community to benefit, right? And that's not really a monetization lever for us, right? But at the end of the day, it actually helps the community, it helps the society, it helps them meet their ESG goals, and it helps the environment as a whole.
Definitely.
Yeah, and on the goals, I want to also say, now the bigger guys are beginning to have their own ESG goals, right? Godrej would say 2032 we want to be net neutral. Mahindra will say 2030 we want to be scope and scope to net neutral. But these are fascinating goals, and that's only set by the top 10 guys. I wouldn't even say 10. We have spoken to all the leading guys in the last 2 months. The top 4 have done it. The rest are scrambling to figure out what. Again, that's a great driver. That's a great driver to say we need to do something this way. So it's moving from we need to do something to saying, I think this is where we are, this is what we should do. Can you tell us now what specifically? So that's a maturity of a fantastic level.
Yeah, great. So Sriram, what has been your largest, success story by far by now, where you have helped to create a larger penetration in this market?
So the biggest gain I would say is over the whole awareness and maturity and being able to make the builder say that this is something I need. I would say that has been, and we have still only touched the tip of the iceberg, but yet that's been a fast and a good progress in the last year or so. And that's the fastest penetration we have and we want to have. I think the next one will be with consultants, MEP and other stakeholders there, architects, etc. But we chose to work with the builder because he or she is the one who's actually putting the money. They're signing the checks. What took a long time in the last 1 year, that's been the best. Now, going a little deeper, what does it mean? Right? What is the penetration? Is again what I was saying earlier, which is in some of these key cities like Bangalore, like Hyderabad, like Mumbai, these 3 cities I can say for sure is not only we've played a key catalyst role in telling the builder saying, hey, this is something we need to do. And some of our success stories, our data spoke that. For example, we have data about post-occupancy data, how a sustainably designed building was saving about 33% on their monthly maintenance cost. So various initiatives. It was fascinating. We have data so accurate that 3 rupees 50 paise if it's a maintenance fee. In good months it was 1 rupee 21 paise. In bad months it was 2 rupees 87 paise over a 30-month period. So we know that you're saving at least 33%. Now these kind of data points are helping builders say, okay, that's going to help me sell more. Right? The other key hook we saw, which is helping us drive interest in build our presence in the industry, is builders are now beginning to say they can sell this better. Now, in the history of Smart Dharma in the past 9 years, 11 million square feet, we worked in green and brown field, all kinds of industry. 100% of people we work with, including the government, has asked us, great, you're going to make this infrastructure, this product, this packaging, this whatever more sustainable. Tell us how to sell this to our customers. 100%. And I'm telling you, hospitals, hotels, restaurants, food delivery companies, builders, law firms, furniture companies have asked us these questions. Of course, we are now a Proptech company primarily, but over a period of time, we've seen all these people ask, and every builder is asking us this question. There are enough examples in the market in Bangalore. You would have seen ads for an assets property for a brigade. I'm naming these guys specifically because in public domain you can see them. They have seen that drive their sales better. They have seen tangible increase in sale price per square feet. So these two data points are, other than the maturity and sustainability, understanding climate change, from a pure business perspective, this is helping them say, hey, let's do it. And what we're very excited is the number of, like I said, we've had one of the best quarters in the history of Swarazam, right? That's driven by builders saying, I know I need to do this. And that's, if one thing we are really happy in the last year or so, is the maturity there and how we've been a catalyst for it.
So how are builders responding to ApnaComplex? Do you feel there's certain kind of challenges still faced by ApnaComplex?
No, builders are reacting very positively to ApnaComplex. I think it's the first time that a society management, community management platform has actually gone across to builders to go directly to the source and to help them engage with their end consumer better. So they appreciate the platform, and we've seen several successes. I mean, today we're tracking about 35 to 40,000 households being acquired on a monthly basis. And certainly a large chunk of that is from the developer community, which is the real estate developer community, right? And so they're actually quite happy. The second thing is, and we've acquired large portfolios, I mean, including the Brigade portfolio, since you've taken Brigade, and the assets portfolio similarly, right? And these are front runners. We're also helping them to help, in turn, their landlords and investors to rent their apartments.
Okay.
So builders or developers, when they sell an apartment to a landlord and an investor, I mean, the end investor might not be wanting to stay in there. He might be wanting to lease it out. So ApnaComplex helps the developer not only manage and automate the society and its requirements and the residents' requirements, but also to help rent the apartment on behalf of the landlord. So in a way, the developer gets benefited because yes, it's actually given a post-rented society and a benefit to the consumer. So that in a way is also been helping the builder community. So we've been seeing great positive traction from their side, both in Bombay, even when builders in Bombay, builders manage the societies a little bit more than in terms of lineage and number of years than in the rest of the country, where they manage it for a year and a half and then they hand over. In Bombay, they do tend to manage it a little bit more, primarily because they want to keep the quality, the customization, and the service levels intact. So here it is that they really require someone to come in on board, an automated platform to come in on board, not only to automate but also to rent their properties out, and which is how ApnaComplex has been helping a lot. And I think that's the uniqueness of this platform. And that's the success that we've seen. That's one. On the international side, we've seen a lot of developers in UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, in some parts of Africa, approaching us to help AnacIty, which is of course our international arm of ApnaComplex. And AnacIty is working with large developers, whether it's Majid Al Futtaim, whether it's some of the other Vincitor, whether it's some of the other large players, to manage their properties and to provide a superior customer experience. Of course, the needs over there are far more different from in India. But to answer your question, yes, developers are finding a lot of take for ApnaComplex and AnacIty.
That's great to know. So let's talk about your competitors. Starting with you, your competitors, Adda, MyGate, I've seen they are not, having a great profitability in this particular segment. And when it comes to even raising, MyGate, I've seen that they're struggling right now to raise another, funds. So where exactly money is lying in this particular format? Like where the profitability will be for in longer run? How are you monetizing this particular platform?
I can speak for ApnaComplex and the journey that we are taking. There are several forms of monetization, and I would look at it from a fundamental of a horizontal and a vertical play. Horizontal play is, there are vertical players in every category. Most of our competition is chasing a vertical play, whether it's competing with fintech, edutech, consumer tech, household services tech, all of which, right? We are not chasing that vertical. We would rather be vertical in what we are strong about, what we are strong in, and that is on the rental side, which is being the matchmaking service for landlords and tenants and building India's largest platform of verified landlords and tenants, but at the same time, providing superior automated services to residents at the community, society, and the developer level. So, in a nutshell, if I have to say, how are we looking at monetization? We are looking at rentals coming top of the stack, where we are helping landlords release the yield on their properties in the communities that they stay, and using the same app of ApnaComplex in which to rent out their properties. Tenants using the app to move within society, inter, within the same micro market. So all of this will provide a ready pool of apartments which can be rented out, and a ready pool and verified pool. Because as you see, what's happening in the other side of, no one's sorted out the supply side of the business of rentals yet.
Yeah.
So with ApnaComplex and its move in, move out engines that are there, one is able to predict when the apartment can be leased out, when the apartment is getting ready to be re-tenanted, and when a tenant is ready to move into another apartment. So using AI ML logic, you can actually do a matchmaking and help the landlord and the tenant transact in the property. Not only that, look at KYC, look at verification of the tenant, look at ID verification, agreements, and also do a host of services which are required, whether from cleaning, painting, and all, before the tenant moves in, and both from the landlord side as well as the tenant side. So that's the first level of monetization that we are seeing, which to us is the largest business and can become the largest spin-off, because no one's doing it right now. That's
so
one.
You would say that's a key differentiator among your competitors?
That's one key differentiator that we have. The second key differentiator is, of course, our international foray through Anacity. Anacity is our international business, and that, of course, runs a pure play SaaS service, which is more dependent on subscription revenues.
And isn't Adda also in the
yes, there is.
market?
Of course, Adda is there also. Yes, and there are other players also which are there. There are other players which are older than Adda, which are already present in those markets. And I'm happy to tell you that we are close to about 8 to 10,000 households already in the UAE, which almost says that we have gone beyond the milestone of proving our point and our existence in those markets. So, and we are making good money in those markets, primarily because of the fact that there is a requirement of a full stack software, and not just a visitor management software or a gate management software.
True.
Right. So there is a requirement of full stack accounting, non-accounting, ERP, and gate management. Something which is even in Dubai linked up with the Molak system, which is a system for payments in that country. And Anacity is right at the forefront of it, and has been acquiring societies. In fact, we are doing white labeling now for certainly a large number of developer players. And white labeling is something which is a great option for a developer to look at bringing his own brand of society management, whilst not spending time, effort, and money on developing through his own proprietary stack, but actually partnering with us and getting a ready-to-market solution.
So there was a recent post which I saw on LinkedIn. It was a post from a customer of MyDate, where they are being spammed by ads.
Absolutely.
So property management is also now infiltrating ads to all the residential, whoever is subscribed to that particular app for their society. So would we be seeing you guys also getting into this? Because a lot of problems residential face, because they feel the data impeachment is there. They do not want to have a property management ad where they have to pay a premium not to get an ad, because that service is mainly for, as you mentioned earlier, for filling maintenance, for letting your maid in or out or whatever. So do you think you will be also getting into this bandwagon of ad?
Absolutely not. If you got my previous one, our monetization is on several plinths. The first is rentals, the second is subscriptions, third is on Anacity, which is our international foray, which is also a subscription service internationally. We do realize that sending ads, at 7 a.m. in the morning when one is letting your maid in, and at that point of time sending and saying that the next batch of turnips is available at 14 rupees a kg. It is pretty intrusive, right? And I've seen the same LinkedIn posts that you're referring to. the fact is we will not be spamming our customers. We don't want to do that. We don't have any ambition of doing that because we figured out what our core is. Our core is to provide superior full stack service in the form of Proptech to our residents, and at the same time helping them realize an inherent need of renting out their properties. So that's something which is an adjacency to the app function rather than something which is a complete disruption. As it is, the app is a disruptor.
Yeah.
Right? And then I go in and disrupt the lives of those very residents by sending in ads in the morning, saying that, do you need an injection right now? Check your HB1AC levels. I mean, it's completely disruptive. We don't want to get into that game. We are not in the ad tech game at this point of time. We do not look at the ad tech game because it depends on several other factors.
True.
Right? And there are certain macroeconomics which actually run this entire business of ad tech.
Yeah.
Right. And so for us, rentals will happen to be the core, which will actually provide a benefit to the landlord, the resident, the community, and even the society. Because what we're disrupting today is that the society today is enjoying a share of the rental pie, which never used to happen before. And we are disrupting that, and we've proven that business model. Over the last 150 days, we've done about 250 transactions for rentals across 3 cities only. And now we're scaling this up across India. We're present in about 123 cities, so we'll probably be there with rentals in close to 10 to 12 cities in less than a year's time, and that's the kind of numbers that we are looking at. And that will be the proof of monetization. So we want to monetize. Every business, the fundamental gain is to make money, but not at the cost of disrupting the lives of the residents who use our app.
True, and that would be taking you for the longer run. It's
Absolutely.
a larger picture.
We want to build a sustainable business. We want to build a business which is on the fundamentals of recognizable revenue. And I'm now using the word recognizable revenue given the fact that there is so much of catharsis and in the ecosystem around it. But we want to build a business around recognizing revenue, not chase this I would say this entire fictitious GMV modeling which is happening right now, right? But at the same time, making sure that we are a profitable enterprise.
So I want to know from both of you, what is your current team size and are you guys planning to expand? So what are the plans for the future, starting from Sriram?
Sure. We are a team of 15 now. Mix of technology, building experts, hardware experts, material experts, communicating experts. So this is our broad swath of people. We are expanding. We are actually, we know that our technology roadmap which we have, we need to aggressively grow on the tech front also. And so that and a bigger biz dev team is what we are aiming for. So we're on the verge of closing a round of money raising right now. We think by the end of the year, actually by Feb, I would say, we should double. We should go 28 by at that point. We have a roadmap of who will do what, including hiring data science people. So great data science person, right? So so we are expanding in that sense.
Great.
So I think when we started this platform, we were about 60 people last year. We've now scaled it to 3 times the size. We're about 180 now. And I think we'd be close to about 300 people by the end of next year. And we're investing heavily on the tech side. We're trying to ensure that almost all functions are taken online. We are putting people on the operations side so that we can meet the demands from the societies and the management committees and the residents who have challenges on operating an app. So we're putting people on the operations side, we're putting people in sales, and of course, majorly on tech. And not to forget my international business, which also needs people to sell and reach out to developers. So we're going to be scaling up both the tech product and the business development side in these international markets, especially in the Middle East markets. And of course, if you look at play beyond that too.
So which are the cities ApnaComplex is actively functioning from?
Oh, we are present in about 123 cities in India. Name the city, we are there. Almost all of them. All the metropolitan cities, all the tier 1, the tier 2s are there. Internationally, we are present in in Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Dubai, Abu Dhabi to a certain extent, and of course some Africa markets like Ghana.
And Smarter Dharma is actively functioning out of which cities right
So our
now?
services, we're pretty much across the country.
Okay.
The platform, although is evolving, it's in a few cities today. Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai is going to come and all. But as service, we work across the country. From Chandigarh to Hyderabad to even Porbandar, Gandhiji's workplace, we did some work there also. So yeah, I had experience across the country.
So Shajai, a lot of players are started to entering into the hyperlocal, which was the domain of Urban Cloud. So offering them and creating a backward integration, now the current property management apps are doing that. So where do you see this is going ahead? Are we going to see every property management app heading into hyperlocal kind of model?
I would say people have to play to their strengths, and each technology or Proptech platform has to, leverage its core. We've been seeing a lot of hyperlocal play. For some, it's movers and packers. For some, it's AC repair services. For some, it is bathroom cleaning services. For instance, where they find their strength lies. For us, it is primarily on the rental side as well as on our international foray. So that's the core. So whilst yes, we will all offer some sort of hyperlocal services, and we do offer it from a household services perspective, whether it's requiring connect with the laundry service player, or requiring connect with puja services, for instance, or requiring to book a cab to the airport. We do all of that, right? But at the same time, is that going to be the core which will define ApnaComplex? And in the process, make sure that we keep spamming them with intrusive notifications? No.
Okay.
So I think it's going to be, sticking to the vertical play, wherein we want to be sticking to our strength, and rentals and subscriptions and providing a superior technology platform happens to be our strength.
So when you say you connect to these particular services, is ApnaComplex providing this direct service, or there are vendors where the directory is forwarded?
I would say let's not call them vendors. I would want to call them partners, and they would be partnering us to provide these services. So and we have several defined filters, and we put that under the platform of affiliates and partnerships, what we call A&P in our business. And these filters are, one, they need to have already been established players in the market. They need to give a certain offer to the residents, which are better than what they're offering outside the community,
right,
to get an access into the community. And the third is that they have certain quality levels and standards through which we know that they will never be able to give a certain diluted level of service. So we work with mostly branded players in this field, and we have about 35 to 40 different categories, and I've taken names of some categories, whether it's cab booking services, whether it's laundry services, whether it's services for pets, whether it's services for painting. All of them are with tried and tested vendors with defined SLAs, right? And of course, the need and ask of the residents, whenever there is a requirement, it is shared with these partners, and these partners then of course get in touch with the resident directly to promote it. So we are not going to be getting up one fine day in the morning and every day, 3 times a day, spamming the resident, trying to say, take this fresh mangoes from the hinterlands of Maharashtra for residents of Bangalore who wants it.
Yeah.
So that's the perspective. Yeah.
So Sriram, I'm noticing a certain change in Proptech ecosystem where the bigger players, be Square Yacht or be even Analog, they are taking and merging with a lot of Proptech companies. So as you mentioned earlier that you are planning to raise funds, are we going to see Smarter Dharma also taking over, like being merged with the bigger key players?
People say never, but if you ask me in my mid to long term vision, I don't have that in mind. Because Smarter Dharma started with the idea of demystifying, simplifying sustainability. We are a sustainability company first, which decided that the biggest impact of the top 4 biggest impact making industries, infrastructure is second. But unlike other 3, it's got the highest mitigation potential for the least capital. A building lives 55 to 70 years. You do it right. It has. That coupled with the whole infrastructure growth expected next decade or so in the world, developing world especially, we see a great opportunity. Hence, as a sustainability organization, we choose this as the first use case. Our vision is big. We actually want to mitigate 1 billion tons of carbon. Right? So, if for that to happen, we're going to keep going to other verticals. So, I don't see us going that route. I think there are enough good, patient investors who are talking to us, and we want to get the right partner to help us scale that.
So what do you think, Shajai, like in current scenario you must have noticed. So do you think later in Proptech sector, like these major key players will be dominating this market because maximum Proptech companies are joining hands with them?
This is yes and a no. Size does have its advantage. Consolidation does have its, obviously a lot of leverage over the smaller players. But having said that, I would stick firmly to the fact that what is your core? And if your core is relevant to your market and your TG, you will automatically survive, sustain, and grow. So it's not necessary that one needs to be a large behemoth firm or a smaller player, cannot survive. I don't really subscribe to that notion. I would say that if one is true to the core of providing a superior customer experience and quality tech to the residents and communities and of course your developer users, I think there is a fair and large patient capital out there, and obviously there is a large market out there that one can grow from, and there is so many use cases out there anyways that we know of small firms which have become big primarily through the usage of its core product and service.
True. So lastly, I want to ask from both of you, there are few startup companies entering in this Proptech domain. Do you guys have any advice for the budding entrepreneurs entering in this particular domain? Starting from you, Shailen.
I think the advice is stick to your core. There are lots of opportunities in Proptech. You can get distracted very easily. Do not get distracted. Stick to your core. See how adjacencies and competitors are working, but do not follow them blindly. Follow what your instinct says. Follow the core of your organization. Follow the learnings that you've had, and of course, follow the belief and the passion for which you've actually started your organization, right? And make sure that passion itself fuels into a superior customer experience. Because the battle with competition or with adjacencies is not anywhere else but on the ground and in the actual delivery of services.
True.
Right? So if you can prove yourself, and of course those proof points have milestones, and I'm sure every budding young entrant in the Proptech space will have built some milestones for themselves. So make sure you meet those milestones, but not at the cost of diluting customer experience or the experience at the ground, and always keep your ear to the ground and right next to the consumer.
Great advice. Sriram, you want to tell?
Yeah, to add on to, he's covered a lot of things. Two things I want to say further. I think India has got expected to continue to have the highest youth population till 2030. And with the upward mobility of low middle class to middle and middle top and middle class, we're going to have so many first time buyers, so many homeowners for the first time, setting up office spaces, etc., that the opportunity is obvious. What it also means is there are tons of tangible, physical problems. You just have to dig in, be passionate about the problem, you'll find a solution. Because the rest of the ecosystem, like Shajai was saying, is there. And these are all requirements of passion, being patient, etc. But unlike other spaces, Proptech means you're working with physical infrastructure. So problems are going to stare in your face. And not just from a sustainability point of view. Which means if you stick to it and be passionate about a problem, there are enough solutions and enough opportunity to build companies and solve a problem and become successful. I think it's a great space to enter, and there are enough problems. The more the merrier.
I agree. And adding to that, I also believe that raising fund is not equivalent to success story. No. Like people have this bit of wrongly put thinking that if I enter this market, I have to quickly raise fund.
Yeah.
because then only I'll be known as I've been doing great in this particular area or in this particular vertical. So do you want to add on to that also?
I would say first find your niche, prove yourself in that niche, prove that there is a demand which exists, and then you are a requirement of the consumer, and money will follow.
Yeah, I can add on to that. We ourselves have been self-funded till now. We've done more than 11 million square feet. We have enough success stories across the country. This idea that you have to raise money to succeed, I don't think we need to do that. There's enough space to do on your own. And folks are willing to put money if you're solving the problem. I know a few Proptech companies which have not raised money and doing pretty good. So money needn't be the primary driver. Money can come if the problem is core and you're really stuck to your strength and so on. That's what it is.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining today on Let's Talk Business 2.0. It was lovely meeting you and having this chat on the Proptech sector.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me to talk.
I think your questions were really to the point and obviously quite insightful.
Yeah, happy to share our stories here and great to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
Yeah, thank you so
Thanks.
much.